It's a very professional operation.
Yes, it says. All right, 3, 2, 1, we're live. Hello and welcome to the Go Away podcast. This is Locke.
And this is Smith.
And today we are interviewing Sean Finch. He is a candidate for the Libertarian Party UK in the Lewisham East by-election, which is the equivalent of a special election that we would have in the United States. So how are you doing today, Sean?
Well, I'm extremely tired at the moment because I've been all day canvassing. I then went to Speaker's Corner to give a speech on my campaign and just the threats of free speech being eroded in the UK at the moment, because at the moment we don't really have any free speech in the UK. Like we do, like Speaker's Corner is meant to be a historic bastion for free speech. Now, I don't personally believe that it is. It's just to pretend. It's just a facade to say that, oh, so the government can say, oh yes, of course we have free speech because look, we have Speaker's Corner, but we don't. It's just simply an excuse to say that, you know, just in order for them to say that yes, we do believe freedom of speech. In reality, they don't at all, and it's this sort of nonsense that basically just lets the government to do what they want to do. But I was there, obviously. I gave a speech because one of my competition was there. We have 14 candidates standing in the Lewisham East by-election, which just speaks volumes about the current state of our. There's a lot of political unrest going on in our country at the moment. The fact that 14 candidates of 13 different parties and one independent has to stand just speaks volumes about the mainstream parties, in my opinion, just how much of a mess they are.
I mean. Yeah. So I actually have a lot of British family, so I actually have people who are both. I have Tories and I have independent people, and I have people who are great supporters of what's his name?
Corbyn. Yeah,
Jeremy Corbyn. They're huge Jeremy Corbyn supporters.
Oh, you guys have Bernie Sanders in America.
Yeah, he's awful.
I hate him.
Yeah, well, I would rather have Bernie Sanders than Jeremy Corbyn. Jeremy Corbyn is quite possibly, in my opinion, one of the most sinister politicians that are currently around at the moment. Like, he continues to.
I've heard there was Soviet flags at one of his rallies.
Yeah, and Hezbollah flags, right?
Yeah, he will never. Basically, the Labour Party at the moment, they've always used this Marxist sort of methodology in order to divide people, divide classes, divide religions, in order to forward the Labour momentum more. So, in the past, Labour has often used the classic socialist means of dividing the rich and the poor. So they'll say to like the people from the poor background will say, "Oh, you must be being oppressed. It must be the rich doing it to you. It can't be simply that you've made some poor choices in your life to make the way they are." Now, I understand that some people do fall on financial difficulty, but that is just a small margin of people that do so. But the Labour continuously, the socialist sort of way that they do, is pushing this dividing of class. And also at the moment now, what they've always successfully done at the moment is that they've divided also the black community and the white community. They've successfully managed to, like with the rich and poor angle, they've gone to, oh, it's the black community. Oh, no. It must be the white man that is oppressing you, which is not true at all. It's not. There is racism in every culture, of course, no matter who it is, but it doesn't exist, in my opinion, in Britain. It's just simply been made more. Labour has created this divide, wedged white and black relations to the point where it's just they've done more to divide the culture than the very thing that they claim to be fighting for. And now they're doing exactly the same thing now between the Jewish community and the Islamic community. That's why Jeremy Corbyn, there's a massive anti-Semitic problem in the Labour Party at the moment. It's massive. And Jeremy Corbyn will never, ever address that problem, because he knows that if he can divide the Jewish community and the Islamic community even further, he can get that Islamic vote as he's got with the black community vote, as he's got with the poor vote. And they don't give a damn about any of those respective people. They simply want to divide people and get their vote, and that's all. That's the core. But he's worse than Bernie Sanders, in my opinion, far worse.
Yeah, this is what the Democratic Party has been trying to do, but obviously to a much lesser extent than the Labour Party.
And actually, the thing is, for me, that's actually quite close to my heart because I am actually a Jew. So, and the things he has done especially with the issue is the fact that the politicization of the Israeli-Palestine conflict, especially in Britain, has become insane. Because
and there's only like 200,000 Jews in Britain, and how many Muslims are there? Over 1 million?
About at least 3 million. Probably more than that. There's clearly a more higher Islamic population than the Jewish community, and that's the reason why Labour, especially under Jeremy Corbyn, they will never address the anti-Semitism. They will just let it. They'll do these little gestures and stuff like that, and say, come out and say, oh yes, we were against anti-Semitism. They'll never actually, like we had. There was this politician we had called Ken Livingstone. He was the first ever mayor of London, because the mayor of London office has only existed about just over 10 years.
Was he the guy who praised Hitler?
Sorry?
Was he the guy who praised Hitler?
I believe so. He did something quite anti-Semitic. I think it was actually, yeah. He only just recently resigned, only like last week, after years and years and years of anti-Semitism. He was never sacked from the Labour Party. He was never expelled or anything like that. And it just shows that they won't even sack a man that has clearly has been recorded saying these sort of things, and they won't do it. They just won't because. Sorry.
No, I'm saying it's very similar to our Democratic Party, because they've until recently been very highly allied with the Islamic Brotherhood in America.
And Louis Farrakhan,
who literally, when he said people call me Hitler, and his response to that is, why should I be offended? That's a good name. And they've been for years allied, and then there's our Sora as well, who's also had a history of being anti-Semitic.
She organized the Women's March, which was widely lauded by the left.
Yeah. And she is anti-Semitic. I mean, and they love to support Palestine, who have a history of human rights abuse, and they will ignore Palestinian issues to support it because they want to fight Israel. It's a massive issue here, where it's like people.
You certainly have it worse in the UK.
Well, I always say whenever I give like public addresses or whatever, I always say because there are some loyal Jewish Labour supporters still, and I honestly don't know what the Labour Party has to do before the Jewish community finally wakes up and actually realizes that, because you have to understand that I honestly consider, like, people ask me sometimes that what is the worst party, what is the worst political organization in the UK? People say the BNP, the British National Party, which is pretty much dead now. You have the National Front Party, which is a massive racist party back in the day. And you have Britain First now as well. And people say, oh, surely they're the worst things in society. Even UKIP, they will even say, which I honestly don't believe they're a racist party, UKIP.
All I've heard is that they're anti-EU, right?
Yeah, he was saying how they're the Eurosceptic party. Yeah, they are.
Yeah, but they're the UK independence parties, and i.e. they want independence from the EU. But people always say, are those parties the worst society? I always say, no, I totally disagree. The worst party in our society at the moment is the Labour Party. They're rife full of anti-Semitism, have radical Islamist cleric leaders. That obviously doesn't mean that I dislike all Muslim people. I'm just talking about the Islamic sort of clerics that push this sort of radical ideology of hating Jewish people. And they have an inner group movement called Momentum, which is just taking over this just pushing this identity politics narrative constantly. And then the Labour Party is also a hotbed for Antifa. Obviously, I assume you guys know what Antifa is. I imagine.
Definitely know what Antifa is.
So a hotbed for Antifa, which in my opinion are just a modern day brown shirt organization, i.e. Hitler's brown shirts. Yeah. So what famous 20th century German party does the British Labour Party remind you of now? Because they are swiftly getting to what that party was back in the day. They are becoming that. And yet I always say to Jewish people, just get out now. Just get out while you still can, because they are active Momentum members and Antifa members attacking Jewish people, attacking their property, just because that they are a certain way, and it's just disgusting. And it's all kept hush hush and not really spoken about too often, but it is happening. You can even check out a Labour MP called John Mann, Mann, and he is probably one of the only few one of the only few Labour MPs that are actually trying to genuinely fight anti-Semitism. But he's on, in my opinion, he's fighting a losing battle. He won't win.
That's because the Jews are because they are a typically minority group in everywhere except Israel. They're very easy to point the finger at because there's no one to defend them often.
Yeah, I've just never understood it. I personally can't understand. I mean, I'm Catholic. Well, I'm not a very good Catholic. I mean, I was baptized. I acknowledge that I'm more agnostic of anything really. But I recognize that I'm culturally Catholic or whatever. But I've not actually properly understood why people just generally dislike the Jewish community. I just can't understand it.
People dislike other. And the Jewish community seems other.
I don't know. I don't get it. I know. I hear these theories that they own all the media. These media tycoons and all that. Well, so what?
And Saudi and the Muslims own all the oil.
Yeah. Well, if that is the case with the Jewish community, that they happen to be the rich and happen to be these media tycoons, then
good on them.
So, yeah, good on them. They worked hard for it. Fair play. What's a big deal?
Exactly.
What? Why does everyone seem to be a bit jealous of them? That's what I seem to get the impression of.
This is consistently it goes in with this narrative from the Labour Party from the left, which is it's their fault you're not rich, not your fault. You have nothing to do with it. It's the other's fault.
That is their Marxist methodology of divide and rule. They'll create this. They'll see a wedge. They'll see like a little tiny crack, a wedge. And then they'll just put in a crowbar and just pry that wedge to divide the classes, divide the communities, divide even now religions, i.e. Islam and the Jewish community. Just don't make it worse in order to get more power. And it's just absolutely disgusting what's going on. Whenever I finish a speech, whenever I say this, I always quote what's believed to be said by Abraham Lincoln, where he said, You can't make the poor rich by making the rich poor. You can't strengthen the weak by making the strong weak. You can't advance the brotherhood of man by creating class hatred, and you shouldn't give to those what those could and should do for themselves. And I think And that quote, now I don't know if Lincoln actually said that, because it's under a bit of dispute. It's not like a lot of the Winston Churchill quotes. Not people are sure if he actually did say these things, but that quote was definitely recorded during the time of Karl Marx's life, which means that Marxism had never been ever tried yet, had never been implemented yet by like the USSR, for example, and the Bolshevik Revolution or whatnot. And even then, Lincoln, if it was him, Lincoln was right, absolutely correct. And you just look at all those socialist nations that adopted that Marxist methodology. All of them failed.
A large portion of the world has attempted socialism at some point or another, and almost all of them have failed. The places that remain socialist, like China, are Chinese with socialist characteristics. Socialism with Chinese characteristics, which is just capitalism.
Yes.
But that wasn't real socialism.
Oh, damn. Oh, God.
Yeah, but, I have a separate question because I was interested. What's your view on the London knife ban?
I think it's ridiculous.
I agree.
I can't understand. I can't. Mayor Sadiq Khan, he is another. He's a Labour mayor. He's one. Again, I mean, the constituency that I'm trying to, be elected in. is it's. Let me give you the context of Lewisham. I was born and raised in Lewisham. I mean, I came from nothing. I was born under a single parent family. I didn't have any money to rub together. Everything I've done, I've earned myself.
Then you should be labor, obviously, right? Because only the rich.
You would think so, wouldn't you? I mean, like I work for Royal Mail.
Because the narrative is only the rich are libertarians. I've heard this so many times that only the rich are libertarians. Only the successful.
Yes.
Only people are sensible.
And I'm not like that. I'm not massively wealthy. I just simply, I have my own flat. I have my own car. I work 2 jobs. I work for Royal Mail, which is, like a postman or mailman, whatever you want to call it. I was a postmaster, like the manager of an office or postman. But I stepped down to concentrate more on this, and also I'm a part-time firefighter. So,
I find it funny that as a libertarian and anti-government person, you do work in 2 government jobs.
I did, yes. I have seen the irony in it. Yes, although saying that Royal Mail now is actually a private business now. They privatized. The government actually privatized what you would call the U.S. Mail. They actually privatized it. So the one step in the right direction, in my opinion.
Yeah. So sorry, I was just gonna say, Smith, your microphone is a little low. Could you move it closer to you?
Me?
Yeah, you.
Yes, of course. I'll try. I'm on my phone now because my computer kept busting.
Oh, okay. That's why it's quieter. But anyway, I was going to segue into sort of your policies on a local level. So obviously there are going to be some degree of differences between the UK Libertarian Party and the US Libertarian Party. Like, our Libertarian Party is a joke, basically. I have heard that. I don't know much about the US Libertarian Party, so I can't really comment. I know I did quite like Gary Johnson, but I just didn't. I think I was a US,
liked Gary Johnson. He wasn't a good candidate.
He was an awful candidate.
He was an awful candidate. He made a fool of himself. Quite common.
Yes, I see. Yeah, I did see. What was that famous meme? What's
Aleppo? What is Aleppo?
What's Aleppo? Yeah, I don't know enough about the Libertarian Party in America to actually. I know obviously it's the 3rd biggest party after the Republicans and the Democrats.
Yeah, but the thing is that's different than in the UK, because in the 3rd biggest party here is 5% of the population.
Yeah, I understand. I know they have no seats or no senators or whatever, however you measure it, but yeah, I don't really know too much about them. I mean, it's like we actually have in Britain, we have the Libertarian Party, obviously UK, and then we also have the Scottish Libertarian Party, and they're not connected to us. They're a totally different party, but we have this sort of underlying agreement.
Our 4th party, that's the least popular party in America, is actually far more Marxist than Labour.
Yeah, the Green Party.
They're insane.
The Green Party is Marxist in America.
Intensely.
Yeah,
I read their manifesto, and it said they need to reclaim the electromagnetic spectrum for the people.
Wow. That's pretty.
Our Green Party is basically as far left, if not farther left, than your Labour Party. But anyway, I was going to ask about your policies on a local level.
Okay. Well, go on.
Oh no, I was just give us a run through of your a quick run through of your policies, if that's all right.
Well, there's 5 points that I've created for. I writ the 5 points myself, and I writ the whole leaflet myself. It isn't that they simply slapped my face in it and just simply went, "Yeah, you believe in this now." That's not how we operate. We consider ourselves a party of individuals, not like a collective thinking group. All of our members are from left of center, right of center, which is me personally. I am right of center libertarian.
To be fair, your right of center is probably our center.
Yeah, maybe. I'm not too sure. I know it's slightly different, but it's quite. You don't really get many far left libertarians or far right libertarians, because it just wouldn't really fit into. It just naturally. That doesn't mean that we would be against having them as members, because we welcome all sorts of people who think certain ways or whatever. We want a society where all these ideas, even the nasty ideas, do exist, because that is the price of freedom. That is the price of true. I have actually met
a few far right libertarians, at least here, because they are far right themselves, but they don't really care what other people believe.
No, well, yes, I'm not saying they don't exist, but it's just naturally they wouldn't really uh, join us. They would join just simply another party that would more suit their need to it. But yeah, but it's 5 points. But the big one that I'm going for. I don't know if you guys have seen my website or anything, but it's the Libertarian website, I should say, is that I'm going for the whole freedom of speech push. That's my number one policy because like I said, in Britain, we don't really have freedom of speech. We don't have a freedom of speech act. We don't have a written constitution. Instead, we have hate speech laws. We have political correctness, which are just forms of censorship. They stop you from thinking what or saying what you want to say. I mean, everyone's had it, like the recent Tommy Robinson thing as well, which like it's just showing that how obscene, or Lauren Southern of late, where she was detained under the Terrorism Act, which is meant for terrorists.
Terrorists.
Yes, but instead she was, and as well as Brittany Pettibone and Martin Selner, they were, ironically, Martin Selner is actually going to come to Speaker's Corner to give a speech about the danger of freedom of speech disappearing in the UK, and he was detained and barred from the UK indefinitely. So, I mean, if that doesn't speak volumes about our country, about the UK, then I don't know what does really. But it's pushing for that. Like you guys in America. You guys got it right with your founding fathers. You have a written constitution, and it's your First Amendment, freedom of speech. It isn't your 12th, it isn't your 20th Amendment, it's your first. Even above the Second Amendment, even above the guns that the Americans are known to love so much. Because those founding fathers, despite being dead for hundreds of years, they realize that if you don't have, they're far wiser than our leaders now. They realize that if you don't have freedom of speech, the ability to be able to scrutinize ideas, not out of malice, not out of hatred or anything like that, but simply to voice your concerns about something and say, this isn't a good idea. If you don't have that ability to do so, then you may as well not have the society at all. It all stems from freedom of speech. It's like a seed, and the tree is our society, and it's everything else.
Yeah, thank God we separated from you guys.
That's exactly why the left despises freedom of speech. They hate it here, and they hate. Our Constitution exists, and it is the greatest blocker to the people who and many people dislike it.
And you're right when you say that's why you guys broke away from us, because yes, I honestly think that is also a reason. I can sort of see the benefits of just America in general. It's just obviously it's not perfect, nothing is, but it definitely has won over us for the freedom of speech thing. But the other 4 points as well, that's my main thing at the moment. So the freedom of speech thing. So I just go around, as I was at Speaker's Corner earlier, which is not in my constituency. It's just it's nowhere near it. But I just want everyone to know that there is a party out there that is trying to do this, because we do have a party called I always say that people go, but Sean, what, we already have a Liberal Party. We have a party that will no doubt defend our civil liberties. We have the Liberal Democrats.
Oh God, they're a shit show in and of themselves.
And you know what? Whenever I say that, people start just cracking up laughing, and they're right to do so, because the Liberal Democrats are neither liberal nor are they democratic. Yeah. They believe in political correctness. They believe in hate speech laws, which means they don't believe in freedom of speech. Therefore, their deputy leader, Jo Swindon, was on TV a few months ago saying that she wants, not only does she believe in censorship of speech via political correctness, but she also wants wolf whistling. You know, when you whistle at an attractive woman.
Yeah.
She wants that to be hate speech.
Yeah, I saw that.
We have part of that. I'm wondering, when is the UK going to be officially renamed to Airstrip 1?
This is the thing, yeah. A lot of our citizens in this country, they don't quite understand that they're living in this toxic environment of political. I mean, they know it's there, but they haven't really truly experienced it. I didn't experience it until really only I was like what you call red pilled or whatever you want to call it, or woke or whatever. Only really recently, only really about 2 years ago, really. And it was probably to do with the EU referendum vote of leave in the UK, and then the 1-2 punch being Donald Trump being elected. Because I honestly never ever thought he would. Well, obviously not being an American citizen.
Predicted it. No one believed me. And I said Donald Trump was getting elected the minute after he won that primary. I said he was getting elected. And
yeah, well, obviously I wasn't then political that much, and I wasn't. I mean, I studied history at school, and I studied law, and I studied government and politics in what you call probably college. Yeah, but I never thought I'd be doing something like this ever. I honestly didn't. I mean, if you told me last year,
school, so
well, if I never thought that I would do it. Sorry,
I said our teachers are all Marxists.
Except
yes,
one.
yeah. Well, I had two very good ones, and I think looking back now in retrospect, I think they were trying to guide us in a more liberal manner. And when I say liberal, I mean liberal. I don't mean
the real definition.
Yes, the real definition. Like, unfortunately, like parties like Liberal Democrats, for example, they've made the word liberal a derogative term, like a dirty word almost.
Term here in America too.
Yes, and it's just like, oh, don't listen to him. He's just a liberal. He's just a lefty liberal, And it's made it. And I see your some of your shows in America, and they keep referring to them as liberals, and I keep always shouting. I always go, don't call them liberals. You're just making that word worse. Like, I don't know. I can't remember what shows it is, but like Ben Shapiro, for example, like he refers to them as liberals, and I'm like, dude, don't call them liberals, man. Yeah. They're not liberals. You're just killing that word. You're driving a stake through that word even more by calling these people who are clearly.
Dead, I have to admit that word is dead here.
Yes. Well, I'm hoping. One of the aims that I want for the Libertarian Party, and I think the Libertarian Party are behind me as well in this respect, is that we're trying to reclaim that word. We're trying to say that it's not a derogatory term. It is actually a decent, noble, probably the most noblest word in the English language. But obviously, if people like Ben Shapiro, I'm a big fan of Ben Shapiro, and I'm trying to think of other people. Like Joe Rogan, for example, and stuff like that. They keep saying liberal. Oh, he's just a liberal. He's not liberal. They're illiberal people. They're not. They're anything but liberal.
Do you watch Steven Crowder?
Yeah, I like Steven Crowder. Yeah, I see him. Okay, the thing with Steven Crowder is, though, I don't quite like his debating methodology, the way that he debates. He gets a bit too emotional for my liking. I see Steven Crowder as like the American Tommy Robinson. I do like Tommy Robinson, but he's a person. I mean, I like what he stands for. I want him to be a person for liberalism to be, but he just gets too emotional sometimes. And the way that Steven Crowder berates his opponent sometimes, it's just, I think it's a bit. I don't think it's called for. Check and people like Alex Jones, I hope will never ever go away. Like I do sort of, and I don't mean that in a horrible way for Alex Jones. I know it's quite low hanging fruit to call InfoWars like a bit of a joke. So I mean,
the Tour de France gay.
Yeah, the funny thing about that is that Alex Jones he is. You have to take his news, his factual news as with a pinch of salt, because he is. There is some truth in there, but it's not the total truth. If you know what I mean, it's like a sort of you have to really look at what he's saying. Like that whole famous meme of him saying they're turning the frigging frogs gay. It turned out he was actually right, but in a very not exactly as you may think it. So apparently,
I remember that. It was like it wasn't the globalists. It was not the globalists. It was just some company that put a chemical that the chemical was running off from their factory, and it changed the pheromones in the frogs or in that river or whatever.
It's only one Pacific breed of frog as well, and it's just so again he is kind of right. But he's not exactly right either, and that's why I can't really say his
I just
passion.
Find him so amusing.
Yeah, he's great. He's great. I hope he never goes away. But I hope him, Sheg, Donald Trump, Justin Trudeau. I hope he never goes.
I want Justin Trudeau to go away very quickly.
It's hilarious. That guy is. I had a bet on that he's going to turn to Scotland one day in a kilt, and I think he did it recently. And it's just he is. He went to was it India? I can't remember.
He went to India and he dressed more Indian than the Indian.
Well, my favorite was when he lectured the feminists and called and said we prefer the term people kind.
People kind, yes. I mean, I hope we've got also we've got this female politician, Labour politician, the shadow Home Secretary.
Oh, is it Diane Abbott?
Diane Abbott. Oh my, she's she's made another gaffe just literally today, and I was reading it on the train back just now, and I was just cracking out. I was thinking, oh my god. Why is she allowed a phone? Just take it.
Because free speech.
No, but you're right. Of course, you're right. But just why is she in the position that she's in? She's clearly not qualified for the job. It's just based on her merits, based on her character. She's just not.
Because meritocracy does not fit with the Labour Party doctrine.
Yes,
she's a black
absolutely
woman.
true.
Defend her like that. Don't talk about a black woman like that.
But funnily enough, saying that, one of the obvious now the seat that the MP seat that I'm standing for.
Oh, is this the shortlist thing?
Yes. Obviously, it's a Labour safe seat. Safe seats should be really, in my opinion, renamed death seats, as in you will die in that seat because it's so safe. The seat, at least under the current system we have for past the post, that you if you get that seat, it's basically becomes like a dynasty. Like Jeremy Corbyn, his seat in Islington North, he's actually prepping, he's prepping his son to take over the seat from him when he eventually retires. So, it becomes a dynasty seat in a way. But yes, the short. Sorry?
We have families like that here all over the place. We have the Long family in Louisiana. We have
Teddy Long, is that his name?
Yeah.
Huey.
Yeah,
Huey Long.
Yeah.
But
Huey Long, yeah, I know it's something like that, something E at the end. So obviously, all the Labour candidates, they're squabbling over this guaranteed £75,000 job a year. Now, me personally, I don't care about power, I don't care about money. I'm not doing this for that reason. I'm just generally concerned about my society, the British society, just becoming more and more authoritarianist, and that's the reason why I'm standing. Realistically, I'm not going to win this seat, but it's just trying to do some damage in the sense that I want to, just damage in the sense that just getting the people know about the Libertarian, because most people
need to promise them more free stuff.
Yeah, but that doesn't benefit us though. That's just like that's just something that a snake oil salesman says just to try and get your.
You need to promise people free stuff, and then what you need to do is you need to also promise them free speech at the same time, and then.
No, I'm not gonna sell them all. I mean, I've maybe that's probably a reason why I should be a politician, because I have principles. I won't try and sell something that is just simply not doable. I won't. It's just if I can't do it or I can't find a way to do it, then I'm not going to pretend that it can work. I honestly do think that libertarianism is a solution to this current problem in the British society. But back to the candidates. So there was a short list because all these candidates are fighting over the 75,000 quid job a year. So 5 of them were shortlisted, and all of them were from Momentum. Now I've spoken about that. Momentum is basically a group that pushes identity politics, as in they want it, as in they will. As Martin Luther King famously said, I want a future where my children are judged on the content of the character, not by the color of their skin. Momentum think the other way around, where they want to judge people by the.
I think Martin Luther King Jr. would have been appalled by the modern day left. And
yes, I totally agree. I concur most definitely. And so they shortlisted 5 non-white women. And the thing is, what's quite hilarious is that there was meant to be a 6th candidate who was a white man, and they literally turned around to him and just said, no, you can't apply because we want Lewisham to be represented by basically we don't want a white man basically, and you can't stand for it. So you probably think that is that against the law?
No.
And well, it's not, because 10 years ago we had a Labour MP who's still in office now, where she changed the Sex Discrimination Act. She amended it so that, well, with a couple of other people as well, that she amended it to make it that to be legal, that to be okay, that to be not sexually discriminated. And the hilarious thing is, and this is the great punchline now, it's almost like poetic justice, is that you never guess who the bloke was who wanted to be the sixth possible Labour candidate. Guess who do you think it was?
Jeremy Corbyn?
No, it was Harriet Harmer's son. So she's blocked her own son from being a Labour candidate because she's an MP. Jack Dromey, who's her husband, is an MP, and now they wanted their son to be an MP, again creating this dynasty almost of MPs. But because she changed the law 10 years ago, he can't get in. So his own mother blocked him retrospectively from becoming an MP.
That is being cucked on a new scale.
I think that deserves. I think you know what? I think she deserves that on so many different fronts.
Well, I mean, I don't know Joel Dromey. That was the guy who was blocked. I don't know. He could be a really nice individual. I don't know. I try and judge first.
Candidate.
Yeah, he wasn't though. He was just a Labour member. I don't think he was part of Momentum. But all five of them are Momentum. Four of them. One of them dropped out because she said something very anti-Semitic and had to. She said something about, you know, all roads lead to Israel. It always seems like it always gets back to Israel somehow. She says something.
What was her religion? I wonder.
I don't know, but she says something quite.
I'm going to look at the candidate on my computer.
About Palestine and Israel. Sorry?
What? Do you know her name?
I can't pronounce it. It's quite it's an African sounding name. I don't want to embarrass myself by trying to say it.
That's actually. Did you just assume someone's ethnicity? I think
that's fine. That's enough for me.
Do you have a license for that? Do you have a license for that?
Her name is Phil, as in short for Philomena, Phil, and I don't try and get me to spell the surname. It's gives them an O anyway. It's basically much, and I think there's a J in there somewhere. So I won't be able to try to. But she had to step down because she's quite anti-Semitic, which again is a massive problem in the Labour Party. It just won't go away. I guarantee you, it will never go away in the Labour Party as long as they want to get that Islamic vote. Because our current mayor, the mayor of London, Sadiq Khan, all the Islamic community
apparently also dropped Ken Loach because of anti-Semitism.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I did hear that as well. But back to the other four candidates, 3 of the 4 candidates have connections with radical Islamic cleric in Lewisham. It's a bit of a hotbed of problems in the Lewisham Islamic Centre because it's got a sort of a loose connection with the murder of Lee Rigby. I don't know if you're quite familiar with that case. Yeah, because it was just down the road from my constituency, just outside the border, just in Woolwich. Just down. He was a soldier, and there's a barracks there in Woolwich, and he was basically just, I don't know, I think he was off duty or something, and he was just walking back home or something like that, and then he was attacked and he was beheaded on the streets of in broad daylight. And they were apparently the two that did it were apparently it's not really factual, but is apparently radicalized in that mosque by the leader of the Islamic Centre, and the three of the 4 candidates have connections with him. So again, just proving my point further that the Labour Party will never ever get rid of anti-Semitism in their party.
Anti-Semitism is far too useful of an idea to be.
Well, I think it's just simple numbers game, like we said earlier. It's just simply that there's more. what's bigger, the Islamic community or the Jewish community? What's the Islamic community? They have at least
Well, the
5
most
times
common baby
more.
name in the UK at this time is Muhammad.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
But I mean, and I've heard also that the Sadiq Khan actually has quite a few connections to extremist groups.
I don't know. I can't comment on it really. I could, and you know what? I try not to judge someone on hearsay. I try never to judge a man on hearsay, but I will judge him. I will judge Sadiq Khan on his performance as mayor and on his merits as mayor. And I honestly think that he is the worst mayor we've ever had. We've only 3 mayors really, but he's definitely the worst.
He's the worst
I think
mayor I've ever seen, and I've seen quite a few mayors.
Yeah, he's terrible. He doesn't like. There are 66 people dead now because 2 people just died the other day. He won't do anything about it. He complains about not having enough police officers, but yet he's happy to put 900 police officers as Twitter police. So basically, if you say a mean tweet or a mean Facebook status, you might get a knock on the door by the old Bill, the police. Get rid of the Twitter police, Sadiq Khan. Put them back on the streets if you're so desperate for them. And actually get the police. So this is the problem as well, yeah, is that you could have 1 million police officers on the street, but if the police aren't being the police, then it doesn't matter how many police you have. They're going around with one arm tied behind their back because they're not allowed to do stop and searches because it's racist for some reason.
You're not allowed to have guns.
No, well, the police do have guns. Well, some of them anyway. But it doesn't matter because the police aren't the police at the moment. They're just like security guards, if anything. They're not the police. They're not doing any sort of action anymore. They're not doing stop and searches. Like I honestly, I'm for a broken window policy, like what your New York's mayor Judy. I've forgotten his name now.
Giuliani.
Yeah. Yes, I'm actually for that now. But do it on a merit-based sort of system. So say you have a town with a high crime rate. Yes, put the broken window policy in there. And then in towns where there's not that, don't have it. But then if that good town starts becoming a crime-ridden town, then yes, do it on a merit-based system. And if one of the crime-ridden towns cuts their crime rate by say half, then stop the policy. Just do it on a merit. Just put it in where it's actually needed, not just blanket everywhere. And obviously, I understand then the people's argument that it will then focus on certain communities. Well, if there's a problem with those communities that need to be spoken about, then I think it needs to be addressed because at the moment, these 66 deaths, most of them are of the black community, and it's the black community killing black people. It's blacks killing blacks.
But
it's not.
Apparently, that's racist because stating a fact.
Facts are racist.
Right. Yeah. Again, this is another reason why Sadiq Khan is not clearing up the crime because he is too scared to say this because again, the Labour Party rely on black votes in order to get power. So he won't. And what makes me laugh as well is where are Black Lives Matter? Where are they? They're not on the street. They're not protesting. They're not doing anything.
Yeah,
they'll happily come out.
Don't care when it's black people killing other black people.
No, they don't. It doesn't matter therefore then. But it's only a matter of time now before a white police officer in England kills a black youth or whatever. And then suddenly they'll all come out in droves. They'll come under their foxholes where they've been hiding, and then they'll go, "Oh, it's racism." And again, it's just a tool. It's just Black Lives Matter are simply a tool. They're being used by higher powers such as the Labour Party, to further widen that gap of black and white relations, and they'll just keep exploiting that in order to get power. Don't give a damn about the black community. Don't give a damn about Black Lives Matter or anything like that. They'll just happily exploit it in order to advance themselves in more power.
Exactly.
Yep.
You guys can keep talking. I have to use the restroom, so I'll be back. But yeah, just keep talking, guys.
That's fine. I mean, currently I have because I want to go to Oxford for university.
All right. Yeah.
the English issues are really frustrating for me because, I mean, it makes England seem like, a terrible place to be currently.
Well, I'll be honest with you, yeah. Universities nowadays, they don't mean a thing, in my opinion. Nowadays, they're not the institutions. They're not the sort of institutions that they were. Because especially now, especially from my generation, we had told when I was about to go to university, we had Tony Blair as Prime Minister. As you probably are aware of Tony Blair, I imagine.
Yes, I'm fully aware of Tony Blair.
Yes, and he had this. One of his policies were education, where he wanted, despite everyone having tuition fee, because I was literally the first generation, the first students that had tuition fees, where it wasn't no longer free, or free in the sense that it's no longer taxpayers' money. And we were pushed, and every student. It felt like every student, a mass majority of them were told to go to university rather than focusing on trades, focusing on skills.
The reason is I don't have any reason to be in a trade because of the way my brain works, but I do understand. I don't understand the focus.
Yes, but a lot of people, I think they should have been pushed to more go for trades, and it created this supply and demand sort of effect where there were too many postgraduate students coming out with degrees, but not enough jobs to go into. It created this sort of hyperinflation sort of effect where the degrees that you were given weren't worth the paper they were printed on. Literally, just like hyperinflation, like say through like Germany back in the day and stuff like that. It just became useless. Like my button here has more value than a lot of people's degrees nowadays, because at least my button has a purpose of keeping my shirt together. Like the degrees don't mean anything nowadays. I know
degrees become pointless because everyone has them, and it's actually substantially worse. There's still, because England actually is substantially better about that than America. America, almost no one goes into trades. In England, at least, you still have the apprenticeship systems, and you have a lot of stuff like that. In America, there's nothing anymore.
Yes, it just. I know a lot of people that went to top universities, and they're doing jobs that they could have easily done if they didn't have a degree at all, and wasted all that money, got into massive debt. And this is the thing: they'll never own property. I mean, the property prices in London are through the roof anyway. No pun intended.
And I'd probably say because that's probably because of minimum wage and because of high property taxes.
Yeah, it's a lot of things. Actually, one of my 5 points that I've spoken about housing, because the Libertarian 10-point plan on how to tackle the housing problem, and it isn't that they're 10 revolutionary ideas. They're simply in the classic sort of libertarian method, the sort of libertarian way, is that we simply want to withdraw these sort of restrictions on certain rules and regulations. So we're withdrawing some of the rules in order to best to incentivize for example, getting rid of like stamp duty, getting rid of so if you want to build another property on your land, you can just do it, that sort of thing, like stuff like that, where you can't really do that. And
by the way, what's your view on the BBC?
I hate the BBC. I despise the BBC because, first of all, a lot of people they successfully managed to brainwash a lot of people in England to think that they have to pay the BBC the TV license. Sorry, and it should be called the BBC. Yeah, what? It should be called the BBC license. It shouldn't be called a TV license. It is a misdirection. It is disingenuous to call it the TV license, because
I don't understand why you need a license for TV in the first place.
You don't need to pay. You only need to pay a TV license if you watch the BBC channels. So if you use your TV to watch DVDs, to use it as an extension for your laptop or whatever, or use it to play computer games, you don't need to pay your TV license. It's just a facade. You don't need to pay it at all. But the BBC will make all these they send these threatening letters.
Wait.
Sorry?
Wait, you need a license to play video games?
No, you don't. That's what I mean. You only need to pay the BBC license, the TV license, if you actually watch any BBC service, because all of the other channels have advertisements. They have commercial breaks, which obviously pay for their channel. Therefore, the BBC doesn't have any. The BBC doesn't have any commercials.
The capitalism is bad.
Sorry, mate, you broke up there. What did you say?
I said the issue there is the fact that advertisements are bad because capitalism is evil.
Well, every other channel does it in the UK. Every other non-BBC channel does it. But yet the BBC just thinks that, oh no, we just need to keep charging the people, and they'll pretend or make all these nasty little ads. They'll put them on billboards and they'll put them on radio and whatever, BBC radio and stuff like that, and say that, oh, we know who's got a license, we know who doesn't have a license, and try and make them that it's like the secret police, like the fault police are going to bust into your door and find out you're watching the BBC. You don't need it. Like I literally had an inspector come, TV inspector, visit my house about a month ago.
There's a thing called a TV inspector?
Yes.
Oh
TV license inspector, yeah.
Get out of there. Move to America.
No,
do it. Just come on, just go.
No, so this guy, he came to the door and he says, oh, I see you don't pay your TV license anymore. And I said, yes, that's right. And he said, well, you need to pay. I said, no, I don't. I said, I know my rights, mate. You don't try and pretend that can I come into your house then and see if you're not watching? I haven't turned my TV on in about 6 months. I don't watch TV anymore because I honestly think TV, or at least the networks, the typical broadcasting networks, are dinosaurs. Are dinosaurs. People don't watch them anymore. People are sick and tired of their like the mainstream media lies and everything like that. I watch Netflix, I watch stuff like that, where again, you don't need a TV license to watch it. But I don't watch any mainstream broadcasting thing. And I certainly won't pay the BBC license. And it's got a history of funding paedophilia. It's got a history of sexual harassment claims going on. And I know someone that currently works in the BBC.
By the way, I'm not disbelieving you. I just don't remember. I just don't know this.
Jimmy Savile, right?
Yes, Jimmy Savile, but it's not just Jimmy Savile. There's a bunch of Roll Harris and a bunch of other celebrities that have been involved in this sort of like paedophilia ring that's been going on for decades and decades and decades, all funded by taxpayer. It is a tax really in a way. Yeah, funded by the TV license. The people that pay the money towards it, it's been all going towards that. And I know at the moment, I won't name the celebrities involved in this, but I know someone that currently works in the BBC, and she tells me that you've got these morning TV presenters going up to coked off their heads on drugs and whatever, the drugs being paid for by TV license fees, by taxpayers basically, and it's all still just as corrupt. Maybe not as bad, I'll give them that credit, but still it's just as rife full of corruption as it always was, and I refuse to pay it on that ground because I don't need to. I legally don't need to pay it. There is nothing in law that says I have to pay the TV license, and they know this, but they'll constantly keep browbeating people and try and put up these sort of 1984 Orwellian sort of, we're watching you, we know who's got a TV and doesn't have a TV license and all this nonsense. Trying to
you should get
people.
So me and Locke were actually thinking of creating a line of libertarian doorbells, which would be come back with a warrant. and I would think that you might want to invest in one of them.
God, I know. It's this country is just getting. Well, it's always been insane, but it's one of those things that. I mean, I was quite happy with my life. I was quite content in what I was doing. Like, I've got my own place. Like I said, I've got my own car and everything. I've got jobs. So I always want to be a firefighter. I do that now. And I was happy with my life, but I just see things going on in this society that I just can't not do anything about it anymore. I've been waiting. I never thought I'd be doing this. And I've been waiting and waiting for one of our leaders to or the government to change its direction, but it's spiraling towards authoritarianism, because especially under Theresa May, our prime minister, who is getting more authoritarian every day, And it wants big. She actively says she wants bigger government, which is obviously conservatives are meant to believe in small government. They're not meant to believe in big government. She wants bigger government, so she can control more of the country's assets and whatnot, and just try and control the people more. And it's getting more, but no one's stepping up. And this is the thing. I'm not the guy to solve the problem. I'm really not. I'm hoping that maybe, just maybe, that I can maybe get someone, inspire someone, maybe someone far more intelligent than me, someone far more proactive than me, to actually step up and do it and do this for us, rather than me having to do it for myself. I'm just hoping that maybe there's someone that will step up and properly do it, because I mean, I'm just absolutely knackered at the moment doing the things I'm doing at the moment. I mean, I'm literally on call now, the fire service. My page would go off any second right now. But, I'm still trying to fight through it all still.
All right. So could you tell us what's the deal with Theresa May's government and porn?
Oh my God! I
you know what?
This, like
I don't get it. You know what? I heard it. I think she said something on an interview once, Theresa May, saying something like when she was a young girl, she used to run through cornfields. I don't know, some nonsense or whatever. And basically, ever since then, it's just been this sort of meme that's been associated with her. I don't know. I don't get it. I don't really care, to be honest with you. So don't know.
I was talking about the thing with restricting the age for watching pornography online.
Oh, porn. Sorry, I thought you said corn. Sorry.
Oh, no. I said porn. Sorry.
No. There's this meme with Theresa May and her running through a cornfield. It's like she said something really strange like about a year ago or two, and it sort of stuck with her. But people keep making memes about her like running through a cornfield. I don't know. Like, I think I saw one of her, Signs, the film Signs with Mel Gibson, but they just superimposed her face over, the song or whatever. I don't know. But like the porn thing, they want to restrict porn. They just don't know. That's it. Really, just want to restrict it. They just ban everything. That's basically the way of our.
Have you got a license for that, mate?
Well,
by the way, I'd like to say that I just saw this randomly. It's actually the most insane thing I've ever seen on the internet.
What?
Wait, I need to download this and send it to you guys. This, I think we actually need to post this on our Twitter. Let me send this to the chat. This is absolutely insane.
Don't keep me in suspense.
Oh, I think I've seen this. Yeah, I saw this.
What is it?
Did you get it? It was in the
It's in the group chat.
I'll screen share it. It's fine. I'll give you a second. It's this. Can you see that? I'm screen sharing right now.
Yes. That was I saw that. It's something about I don't. They're repenting.
They're repenting for the white race transgressions.
I'm
pretty sure this is satirical.
I hope it is because it's gone to a point now in our society where you can't tell anymore. You can't.
I follow the Onion quite religiously. And
yes, I was literally going to say that. Yeah, you can't. And I think the Onion, or I think someone like or something like the Onion, has recently come out and said that we're going to go out of business because we can't compete anymore. We can't compete.
What's going on right now is beyond satire.
Yeah, you heard recently last week about that Australian woman that before you change a child, you need to get the child's consent or some nonsense
like
that.
Oh my God!
You can't make this crap up anymore. Like I don't need to watch.
You cannot make it up.
You can't. You literally can't. And like this is the thing. Like we have satirical shows in the UK. Like Have I Got News for You and Mock the Week. Obviously, I don't watch them anymore because you don't need to, because reality has become so hilarious due to the ludicrousy of like what's going on at the moment. Is that the Onion or whatever it was, something like the Onion, literally came out and said, wherever it was, because I think an actual real politician somewhere, it might be in America, actually used let's say it's the Onion, used the Onion story in a speech when he gave this speech, because he couldn't distinguish the difference anymore. So he actually took an Onion headline and used it unironically in one of his speeches or whatever it was, or he replied.
To be fair, we have some very dumb politicians.
Yeah. So yeah, that's the way we're going. We can't do anymore. You can't make it up. You can't, like, it'll just make it up itself now. You don't need to pay a writer. You don't need to pay some sort of creative team to come up with what comedy should we write today. Yeah, and I can totally understand why Donald Trump was elected as president, because
honestly, in that last election, I would have voted for Donald Trump.
I think if I was a American citizen, I would have voted for Trump, because I'm sick and tired of it. I can't. And this is the thing. I don't think President Trump is the perfect president.
I don't think he's a good president, but he's better than him.
No, he doesn't. Yes, he doesn't have flaws. But you need to have some kind of medicine almost to like fight this toxic cancer going on in our societies. And it's just he's not the cure, but he's the nearest he's the nearest thing to the cure that you're gonna get. And it's just
he's the chemotherapy of America.
Yeah. So I mean, like I said, I sort of got red pilled, or whatever you want to call it. I sort of became implicitly aware when he became elected finally, and it's just obviously me being not over across the pond in Britain. Obviously, I didn't see like the primaries, anything like that, because again, I was listening to mainstream media who want you to believe a certain narrative or whatever, and don't give a damn about the truth, and just simply want you to paint this. Yeah, and it's just that they are fake news. It's ironic, really. They created fake news and they turned into fake news. It's poetic justice in a way, in my opinion.
The media here is ridiculous. The media here, like CNN, is absolutely insane. Especially with the gun control debate, is actually went insane, because they're like, if you support gun rights, you hate children. No.
The gun. I totally understand why the Second Amendment exists, like freedom of speech and the right to bear arms. They are almost in hand with each other, in a sense that
you can't have the first without the second, basically.
Yeah,
the second defends the first.
You need it because you need a government that fears the people, not the people that fears the government. And unfortunately, in the UK, we have a government that we fear. It's not the other way around. At least you guys, that if you have the right to bear arms, at least then, obviously you get the spiel that obviously if a tyrannical leader is ever elected by the American people, somehow they're bamboozled somehow. At least you guys can form like a militias in your state and you can fight back. There's obviously more of you than more of the army. Obviously,
on the right to bear arms, the fact that they only meant that for muskets.
Yeah,
this has been an argument I've exposed to. I'm like, okay, I'll use a 1776 cannon, and I'll just park it right behind my door. And if any liberal comes, not liberal, I mean leftist comes in, I'll blow them to kingdom come.
Yes.
That's
right.
That's probably hate speech in the UK, honestly.
Yeah, it is. But unfortunately, like I said.
Speaking of hate speech, did you see the thing with I think her name was Allison. I wrote her name down. Allison Chablos. And she
no.
Okay, so she's like this like middle-aged woman who was posting anti-Semitic songs on YouTube, and she just got arrested in the UK.
Is she British?
Yeah, she's British.
No, I've not heard this. No, this is news to me. Right? Yeah, what is it satirical songs, or is it generally?
No, I'm pretty sure she's actually a Nazi, but yeah,
But she had the right to be a Nazi.
Yeah, exactly. And she got arrested for hate speech.
See, again, this is the thing with what I believe in, is that I do want a society. Well, I don't desire those certain people who have those views, but I do believe that anyone should be able to think what they want and say what they want. And by having freedom of speech, you can then debate those ideas, and trust me, those ideas will never, those negative like Nazism and whatever
There's a
sort of
famous
nonsense
story in
ideas,
America.
they'll never ever stand. What, sorry?
There's a famous story in America where the leader of the KKK, the old leader, the Grand Wizard, actually left the KKK because this black man went out of his way to become friends with him, and pretty much completely made him not like racist. Didn't make him not racist, but he made him. It's hard. Hate dies when people know each other.
And by putting a cap on the ability to debate ideas openly, you're just creating more hatred, because people get resentful, people just get boiled up. They, I want to be able to. How come they can say one thing but we can't say another? Like in the UK at the moment, we have a play. We have a West End play called The Book of Mormon.
Yes.
Written by the South Park guys. Now, yeah, although I have seen the South Park episode of the form, and I heard it's literally pretty much the same as the episode. It's just put in theatre form. It's just simply, and obviously not with the South Park characters and whatever, but it's just simply that. Because I'm a big fan of South Park, especially I think the last 2 seasons of South Park have been the greatest political satire, like commentary ever, in my opinion. It's just like PC Principle. I always use him. You guys up to date with South Park?
They called South Park. They called libertarians in America South Park Republicans.
Yeah, they've said it. They have said in the past that they were libertarians. I don't know whether I think they might just be trolling. I think they just might be just saying that just to.
They're very libertarian.
No, yeah, I've heard them in interviews. I've heard them in interviews, and they are libertarians. But
they have a group called South Park Republicans. Is another name for what libertarians are.
Fair enough. Yeah, but whatever it is, yeah, it's fine. But the last, like PC Principle, one of the characters in South Park, I honestly, and you might just laugh at this, and I say it I generally do use this in debate, is that I honestly do think that PC Principle is probably one of the most important characters ever in terms of describing how our society has become. PC Principle it represents everything that is wrong in our society, because he's not a very nice person, really. Like, he is a nice guy, but the way he goes about things by constantly browbeating people to think a certain way, do certain things or whatever, it just shows. And the fact that South Park just called him PC Principle just to make absolute certain that this is a guy, this is a person that if you want to live in the society of political correctness, this is the way you're going to have to be. This is the way. These are the rules you're going to have to live by. That or PC Principle, and it just had to call him PC Principle. He's just great, and it just shows the reason why people like Donald Trump were elected, because that character I just think is incredibly important. I think people look back in decades to come, maybe even centuries to come, and they want to understand why Donald Trump was elected and stuff in political science classes and whatever. I think looking at PC Principle is a perfect analogy as to why Donald Trump was elected, in my opinion.
Yeah. So have you actually engaged in any discussion with any of your fellow candidates? Like, have there been any forums or things like that?
No, not exactly. We call them hustings. Not exactly yet, although it is coming. There is one coming up, and I think there will just be one, because this election has been called so quick by the Labour Party. I think they just want to get it out of the way as soon as possible to just try and not get, basically this damage control. Basically, they know that individuals like me probably are just going to harpoon them about their whole operation, basically about anti-Semitism, about the crime doubling in Lewisham. They have. I mean, in my opinion, Lewisham, the town itself, is doomed, because it had a Labour MP. Probably will get another Labour MP. It has a mayor, the mayor of Lewisham, who's Labour. All of the local council members, every single one of them, are Labour. And to finish it off, we have a mayor of London who is Labour. In my opinion, that town is doomed. And that is my town. I was born in Lewisham Hospital, and I was raised in Lewisham. And the town's doomed, in my opinion. It's just Labour, and Labour, crime's double. Like I say, they'll never address crime. They'll never address the problems in these communities. They'll constantly push for anti-Semitism. Even though they say that they won't, they will.
By the way,
nah.
so what's your view on the whole more than two genders situation?
What? More than two genders? That's just two genders, mate. That's it. Okay, that's all it is. It's just two genders. I've no. I mean, unless you're considering an hermaphrodite as a gender, I could maybe I could maybe consider that. But and are you also saying that it is transgenderism? Is that a separate gender? Are you asking me that?
I believe in being transgender, and I believe in there being a male and female. But there are people who I will find the list. There's the gender.
Yeah, I know.
The Tumblr gender thing.
The list,
so
mate. You've not seen the list because the list is ever growing. So you've not really seen.
There's some. Okay, so I'm going to So let's play a game. I've seen this on the Crowder Show actually. Let's play Guess the Gender.
Right. Okay.
Okay. So, Ambonek.
What?
Ambonek.
How do you spell that?
Ambonec.
Is that an alien species from Star Trek?
What it is identifying as both a man and a woman, yet neither at the same time.
That's gotta be someone must have put that in as a joke, surely. Please tell me it's a joke.
This is a real gender fluid.
Please tell me it's a joke. No. No,
Kyle Gender. Kyle Gender. Wait.
In my opinion, in my opinion, now I don't know what the official Libertarian Party UK stance is on it, because I just don't think they care. I don't think there is actually a stance on it because it's
just don't care. But I just think it's funny.
Well, because we judge people on being individuals. We don't judge people on identity politics. We don't care whether you want to recognize yourself as a unicorn or whatever. Like, we don't care about that.
What gender? A gender which shares qualities with outer space or has aesthetics of space, stars, nebulas, etc.
Great. If you want to believe that, that's great. But again, we will judge people on their individual merit. That we are a part. That's what I mean. That is actually the greatest minority. People think it's about race. People think it's about religions or sexualities or whatever. That they're some of those are the greatest oppressed minorities. I disagree. The greatest oppressed minority in our world at the moment is the individual, is you. It's just simply being judged as an individual, because all we seem to do now, like I tell you a story. Yeah, I used to be a postmaster, a manager, a postman, and we went to a meeting with all my other postmasters in the area, and this top guy from Royal Mail would come down. He sits on the board of directors, and we're in a meeting, and he said that, right, we need more deputy managers. That's when you deputize a postman to be a manager. Basically, it's a promotion, basically. And so we want you to go back to all your relevant offices and go up to your minority staff, especially if they're a woman. And so in this guy's mind, an Asian woman just simply missed the qualifications to be a manager. But maybe she does. But we won't know that because we're not interviewing her. We're literally just giving her a job. So they will just go back and make them deputy manager. And everyone looked at each other, keeping in mind that people in this room are from all different backgrounds, and they naturally got there through their own good merit. And they all looked at each other and they did this look, this sort of like in the office, like when that sort of stare that everyone looks and look into the camera and whatever. That sort of look, and I was the only person to actually stand up and say, absolutely not, because that is a double offense. Not only is that sexist and racist to white men, but it's also sexist and racist to that female minority, because you are literally judging her upon the content, upon her skin color and her genitalia. You don't care about her dreams. You don't care about her ambitions, what she's overcome, whether she's got the right qualification. You don't care about any of that. All you simply care about is meeting quotas. This sort of quota sort of box thing where you're just putting people into boxes, like if you fill in an employment form, or if you join a political party, because political parties do as well. So you join them, you say your name, where you live, and whatever, and it will be about you section where you got to tick what's your gender, what's your sexuality, what's your religion, what's all this nonsense. It's irrelevant information, because those businesses and those parties can then virtue signal it and just say that, look how many blacks we've got, look how many gays we've got, look how many, all of this, because they have no virtue themselves. It is overcompensation to the highest degree. They have no virtue. They don't care about what Martin Luther King said about judging people on their character, not by the color of their skin. They don't care about any of that. They've gone to the exact opposite of, and years ago, they would say, no, that doesn't exist. None of that stuff goes on. We don't get quotas up and all that. And now it's got to the point where everyone realizes that it is, and they even turn around and said, okay, yeah, it does exist, but it's positive discrimination. Well, I'm sorry, sir, but discrimination is discrimination.
I don't think there's ever been, if there's ever been more of an Orwellian oxymoron than that of positive discrimination.
Yeah, it's like political correctness, like the term itself. It's just, again, a sinister sort of way of saying things. It's like that. It's just, people say that political correctness is censorship with a smile. There is no smile.
Well,
there is no smile. That smile is more of a fist. Like that. If you cross it, if you don't do what political correctness does, that will turn into a fascist fist. I'm telling you. And Tommy Robinson just recently has discussed. I found this out by getting a 13-month prison sentence for the crime. The punishment doesn't fit the crime. It is a far harsh crime for what he should have got, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, he's definitely gonna be hurt in prison, definitely.
So by the way,
because of the Muslim gangs that run all the prisons. So
there's this man called Slavoj Zizek.
Oh yes, I know him, the Marxist philosopher.
Yes, but he's actually, so Slavoj Zizek is actually somebody I quite like, even though he's a Marxist. He said political correctness is a more dangerous form of totalitarianism.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. And it's a, I don't see PC. People go PC. Whenever I say someone says PC to me, I don't think political correctness. I think polite censorship, because that's what it is. Yeah. It is simply that. And again, and it'll be all nice and polite until you actually cross it. And if you cross it, it's no longer polite anymore. It's a very cold reality then that it seeps in then for not obeying what political correctness is. But back to this story of when I said like about when we need more, the business wanted more female minorities. They're judging people, and not just the business I work for, but they're judging, but everywhere in our UK society does it at the moment. They do it in America as well, I'm sure. Is that, and Canada and whatnot, and it's just they judge people on their skin color, not by their qualification, and it's a double wrong. Like Labour, for example, a few months ago at their conference. I mean, it's just how sinister they are. Again, it's trying to drive this wedge between race relations. Is that they wanted to charge people, they wanted to charge white people £40 to get into their conference, and charge black people £30 to get in. Now again, that is a double wrong, because not only is that racist to white people, but it's racist to black people, because you are basically telling them that you expect so little from the black community that you just assume that all black people are poor and they can't afford things. It is
low expectations.
It is a soft bigotry of low expectation, as Majid Noir says. He's a guy in
I love Majid. He's great.
Yeah, it's a soft bigotry. You expect so little from that group. It's like saying that, it's like, imagine you're a bouncer at the door and you see a black individual and you just say to him, all right, mate, how you doing? Yeah, it's normally 40 quid to get in, but because you're black and therefore must be poor, you can pay, it can only be 30 quid for you. For all you know, that guy could be a millionaire. But you've just made this radical assumption that this individual must be poor, just simply because of the pigmentation of his skin. It is insanity, absolute insanity what they do. And again, the Labour Party, again, trying to wedge this. And it's only because Trading Standards got in and said, no, that's actually illegal. That they actually didn't, they didn't push forward with it.
Oh, by the way, what's your view on the whole? I'm trying to remember actually what I was gonna say. Damn it, I forgot what I was gonna say. Oh, what do you view on monarchy? Because I always find that interesting for British people.
I personally, I've got no issue with. I'm not a Republican. I don't. Well, the royal family doesn't bother me. It doesn't. I know. Obviously, you probably think, well, as a libertarian and like taxation is theft and all that
See, the
usual
royal family doesn't
spiel.
bother me either. Actually, I quite like it. I think it's. I don't know.
Yeah, I have no issue with them, and they have the and people say, oh yeah, but we fund the royal family and all this. Well, that's not actually true anymore. They have something called the Crown Estate, which is basically the royal family now is basically a privatized business. So they actually like they own most of Regent Street in London, where all the expensive shops are. So the shops pay them. They pay the Crown Estate, and for rent for doing business on their street, basically. Like a mall, like basically using that space to do their business. Yes, they basically pay for themselves. So they don't. We do. The Queen does actually take some public money. I think she takes £32 million a year. I heard because her reason is that she is a public figure and therefore she is entitled to that money. And I prefer if she didn't have it. But I honestly think there's a lot more worse problems out in society at the moment. But they do mostly fund themselves via the Crown Estate, though. So I've got no issue with them personally.
The interesting thing I've always said is this about what's it called, but governmental healthcare is the fact that the difference in a government and a private healthcare enterprise is that the government actually is better off if you die versus a private enterprise being better off if you live. And I'll explain why, which is the fact that the government is better off if you die because it's cheaper in the long run if you die because they won't have to pay for you in the future. They have no reason to want to keep you alive. In fact, they have the opposite reason. It is in their best interest for you to die.
Yeah, well, I've never really thought of it like that before, but yeah, we do have a sort of the NHS, what we have, the National Health Service in Britain, is basically it's government, it's state. Well, it's basically like Obamacare. Basically, it's sort of similar to that. Like everyone gets taxed basically in order to fund the NHS. I really do. The thing is, if anyone speaks bad of the NHS in Britain, it is seen as a cardinal sin. You dare not badmouth the NHS. You dare not say. I mean, me to even mention the NHS to be privatized, you just can't. You won't be able. You can't really win the argument, really, and that's regardless of people on the left or on the right. They see it as a national treasure almost. The NHS. I think it's a sham. I think the whole thing is it needs to be re-looked at. It needs to be reformed some way. You have to understand though where the NHS came from. It was created in 1945, and so get this, not a lot of people know this, but Winston Churchill, he lost the election after he won World War II.
Yeah, he lost the election.
No, Clement Attlee. He lost to Clement Attlee. Yeah, and so imagine that. So all those famous speeches like "we will fight them on the beach, we will fight them this and all this, and all this sort of great patriotic moments that you always see in history programs and everything like that. He lost the election. He lost the very next election. You would think that a guy that brought us through World War II, that not more or less with other allies, of course, like won the war and everything and kept people going and all this, you would have thought surely he's going to win the election without a doubt. No, he lost. He lost to a Labour government because the Labour promised. They promised a national health service. And this is the thing. I'm not against the national health service in the sense that I think we should have it when it's needed. You have to understand, at that point in time in 1945, London was a ruin. People's houses were gone because they were blown up through the Blitz and the Battle of Britain and whatnot. They were gone. There were no. It was just people were coming back to rubble. That's what it was. And in that scenario, that's when the NHS is relevant. You do need a national health service for that sort of period in time. Now, it's 2018 now. The poor are getting richer. And the rich are getting richer, of course, but the poor certainly are getting poorer. And we live in a world where everyone has a phone, everyone has a supercomputer at the palm of their hands and everything now. And it's just, we are living in a time of prosperity. Yeah, we don't need the NHS.
I've always said that people want to say so. The difference between communism and capitalism. So capitalism may not ensure quality for all, but the thing about capitalism is what it does is through innovation it raises the bottom line of humanity. So even the most impoverished people are better off than they were 100 years ago. Whereas in communism, it stagnates and everyone is equally impoverished.
Everyone's poor. Yeah, I just came back from Cuba, funny enough, about a couple of months ago. And I, obviously, we all know the history of Cuba and Castro and whatnot. And Castro died with $9 billion dollars in wealth and all that.
He was a great man, according to Justin Trudeau, a great man.
Oh, according to Jeremy Corbyn, he was a champion of social justice.
No, that was Hugo Chavez. That was Hugo Chavez from Venezuela.
He did say something about, what did he say about Castro? He said something along the lines of what he said about Chavez, but something quite similar anyway. I went to Cuba, and obviously I stayed in a resort. So I visited the fake Cuba, basically, but I wanted to see the real Cuba, and I went into a town called Moron. It's actually called Moron, but it's pronounced Moran or something like that. And I sort of secretly went because a lot of the people I went with weren't really politically minded, and they didn't really care, about communism or socialism and basically the nonsense that I speak about. So I went into town. And I was speaking to the cab driver, and I said, what's it like in Cuba? And he said, oh, first we'll wait until we get into the cab. People might be listening or whatever. And I said, okay, that's fine. I understand. And we got into the cab, and he said, yeah, I hate it here. Everyone hates it here. Everyone hates it. The government act like gangsters whenever they roll into town and stuff like this. And everyone's poor. Everyone is poor in Cuba. Yes, there are no homeless, but everyone is poor. So I personally, now, as bad as it is to say, I'd rather live in a society where there is a chance that I could become wealthy, and yet there is a chance, of course, that I could become homeless or whatever, or poor anyway, on the breadline, than live in a society where I'll always be poor, that I'll never be able to do. The people that are working as a staff in the resort they're working at, they had master's degrees, but they said, well, why aren't you doing like like a big top sort of job or whatever? Because it doesn't pay anything. Because I'd rather work in a bar as a barman because I get tips, which are obviously tax free. We don't get taxed for them then. And you're not paying like the guy who owns the resort. Like we have Butlins in England. We're not paying Mr. Butlins to stay in one of the resorts. We're paying the government, and then the government reimburses. They give low money back to the workers then, but because they get tips, they rather work as a barman. Mad. It's insane.
Yeah, you've got all these overqualified people working in such low skilled jobs.
Yeah, and they're considered prestige jobs. These working in resorts, because they're representing Cuba in a way. They want to make keep the folks happy, pretend everything's nice in Cuba, and you keep the tips. Won't say anything about the tips. You keep them. So basically, it's sort of like a incentive to basically lie about what's going on in your country. But this town I visited in Cuba, the first thing I saw when I got out, there was a dead dog on the street. The dog recently died, and it was thin as a rake. Thin and a rake. This dog. No one owns dogs either in Cuba.
So, by the way, there's a candidate in America. I forget where. There's a Libertarian candidate in America. She actually comes from China, from Maoist China, and she remembers that actually she was actually indoctrinated at first, and then she became a Libertarian because she met this man with a pocket constitution.
Oh, I remember. She was in Colorado.
She was in Colorado. But the interesting thing is the fact that she was like, we were starving because there was no food and we ran out of rats to eat because we couldn't catch any rats anymore because the rats all died because we ate all of them. And
that's the sort of crap that people want to bring over. That this ideology, this socialist ideology that people just want to bring, and I think it's going to be great.
Chavez, champion of social justice, according to Corbyn.
you see this live.
Or Noam Chomsky.
There's a live. There is socialism currently being tried in obviously Venezuela, and it is just, and yet so we've got oh yeah, we've got this live thing happening now in real time socialism currently happening. And go, well, look, that's what's happening. It went from the wealthiest country in South America to people breaking into zoos. I saw a video on YouTube of there was a cow in a field.
Oh yeah, they were trying to stone it to death.
It appeared they managed to knock it. They threw so many stones at it, the poor thing finally collapsed, and then it just went. It was like watching a zombie apocalypse when like the zombies are chasing after
why are they throwing stones at the cow, by the way?
Sorry?
Why were they throwing stones at the cow?
Because they needed food.
Because they were hungry.
Ah.
That was it. They were hungry, so they stoned the cow, and then they all looked like about 50 of them, then jumped in the field and just started hacking it up, and then they're breaking into their own zoos to eat the animals. I mean, and people want this, I just can't. It hurts my brain just thinking about it. I'm thinking that
people have no grasp of reality because people want to listen.
And all of those people, people go, "Oh, no, that wasn't real socialism." Yes, but all those people who did create those horrible societies, they all said that we're trying socialism. They all said it. Every single one of them said
that. That's because real socialism doesn't work. Because the thing is, the minute you give that much power to the government, the people become corrupt.
Yeah. So,
and
this is the thing in the
most hilarious thing is that like when Bernie Sanders is like, "Oh yes, we are going to follow the model of great socialist countries like Denmark and Norway." The prime minister.
That's a really great accent. Yeah.
Oh yeah, thank you. The prime minister of Denmark comes out and is like, "Actually, we're not socialist.
Yeah, we're not socialist." Yeah, we're not.
And the thing about Denmark and Norway, the thing about them is they are a homogenous, small, but majority wealthy society.
So I will say to people like, do you trust the current government now? And they say no, but they're socialists, and it's just like, so wait a minute, so you don't trust government, yeah, right? But you're totally fine with the idea of socialism, of government nationalizing everything and taking the means of production and all that, and then you're fine. So you don't trust government as it is now, as the size that it is now, but yet you want to give them more power to become even bigger.
That's how I've said that so many times. I've said that so many times.
Right. But yeah, you want them to do this, and you don't trust them as it is now, and you just expect that if you're a communist, you just expect that as soon as they take over everything, they're just going to go from far left to far right, because the far right is anarchism. Like that, this is a great misconception of our societies. Yeah, that people go, "Oh, he's far left. Oh, he's far right. He's left. He's right." That don't mean anything. That if anyone's ever taken a political compass test, yeah, that line, the left to right line, the horizontal line, that's just to do with economy. That's just to do with government size. So if you're left or you're far left, that just means you want bigger government. And if you're right, as I am, that just means you believe in small government, or the furthest right you can be. It's anarchism.
It's actually top and bottom. Top and bottom. They're the authoritarian and the libertarian.
Yes, and that's exactly, yes. And that's what people need to focus on. I was even saying that today in a speech in Speaker's Corner, yeah. I was saying that people need to get this out of their mind of calling people far left, far right, and all this. Like how they need to stop calling people who are illiberal liberals, yeah, in that sort of same manner. What you need to be focusing on is the vertical line, the up and down line, like
authoritarians
versus libertarian. That's because you look at all the great dictators of old, left or right. Although ironically, there's more left than right.
Even Hitler was left.
Do you know what? I hear arguments that no, he was right, no, he was left. I personally think he was dead on center, in my opinion. That's just my opinion, though. I know, obviously, I would concede that he is maybe slightly right or maybe slightly left, but I just personally think he's bang on center. He managed to successfully combine socialist aspects with conservative aspects, and then I just think it's brought him into the middle. But that's just my opinion anyway. But it doesn't matter. Just forget Hitler a minute though. But most of them were on the left though, like Mussolini and Stalin and Mao and Castro and all this. Yes, all of them. But be left or right, they all shared one thing in common: is that they were all high up on the authoritarian line. There's never been a libertarian dictator. It can't exist. It can't exist.
Maybe Augusto Pinochet.
Yeah, what about Pinochet?
No, I would say he was not far right. But again, we stop referring to people as far right and far left. It doesn't mean anything really. But I would say he was right authoritarian. That's what I think Pinochet personally was. He wasn't a libertarian.
That's just a meme.
No. Yeah, I know, but that's the thing. But people need to be thinking more about that. But so back to the point is that people want this bigger government. We don't trust in government with that. But how? So you just expect that the government will take over every single aspect of society, and then just out of sheer goodwill, that you're just hoping that none of that, all of these politicians, all of them, just happen to be thinking the same way as you, and we'll just go, yeah, you know what? We're going to suddenly, because like Lenin famously said, the aim of socialism is communism. Yes. So
I have this. What's it called? I have a So my favorite author he's Terry Pratchett. It was a British.
All right, yeah.
Do you read Discworld at all?
I never have, but it's one of those things that I've been recommended a couple of books
you should read it. I read all the books.
Yeah, he tells me about.
There's a quote from him, which is, what's it called? Who would put a known criminal in charge of an important branch of government apart from the average voter?
Yeah, I heard Terry Pratchett. I think I've heard some of his quotes. I think he is a bit of a libertarian, and he didn't really know about it. I don't think a lot of people are libertarians personally, because they just don't know it. When I'm knocking on people's doors during my canvassing, I would say, "Hi, I'm Sean Finch. There's a by-election going on, as you probably know. I represent the Libertarian Party." First things people always say is, "What the hell is a libertarian?" They don't know what it is in Britain. It's a very not very popular ideology at all. But most people are libertarian. Every time I do speak to people, I always get their vote. At least they've lectured to me anyway. At that point in time, they said, "I'll vote for you," and I'll look into more what libertarian is. Like even the other day, we have a radio talk show called LPC, Leading Britain's Conversation.
Yeah, I watch Nigel Farage's.
Imagine Noir's on it as well, occasionally. And there was this cabbie who called in, and he said, "There's basically, again, it's another thing about the government want to ban something. There's a proposal being recommended, I don't know by who, that they want betting shops, gambling shops, to be banned, basically, because unfortunately, a few people in our society is, is unfortunately they're addicted to betting." And this guy called up, and he's, just a typical working class guy, and he just said, "Well, I don't think the state should be getting involved in this matter. Yes, it is terrible that some of those individuals are hooked on gambling, but that's a very small number of people, very small marginalized people. If that's the case, why don't we close all the pubs? No, why don't we close all the bars?
I'm very pro legalization of drugs, because I think people are going to get drugs anyway.
Yeah,
Why criminals?
They can't even keep the drugs out of the prisons. Never mind keeping them off the streets. There's no point in declaring a war on drugs, in my opinion. It's just pointless. Like you say, there'll always be a demand for drugs, whether they are legal or illegal. It is irrelevant of it. And
if you make them legal, you can at least regulate them.
Yes, exactly. And also they have to go through, so every consumer product that are edible or whatever, or liquids or whatever, they have to go through a quality control check. Now, at the moment, the illegal drugs that are being pushed on the streets they've got all sorts of different crap in them, like stuff that rat poison, everything that is in these things in order to try and make up that drug or whatever it is. Now, if these drugs become legal, it will have to go through a quality control test to show that they are actually, they're not as dangerous. I mean, like, drugs obviously are dangerous. I mean, alcohol is dangerous and whatever. We still do it, but
I mean, I drink plenty.
That it won't kill someone basically straight away because of the crap that's in it that's being put into it. It will go through some sort of quality control measure. And yes, and I think obviously I'm for legalizing of at least marijuana anyway. I don't think that's a terrible drug. I think alcohol is worse than marijuana, personally.
I think we should legalize all drugs, personally.
I would concede. I would say, well, one step at a time kind of thing. But I would say yes. I think marijuana should be legalized. I think cocaine should be, and that's probably as far as I would go at the moment. But yeah, but
I think
I wouldn't be against. I wouldn't be against. I mean, I heard about the Portugal statistics and whatever, but I sort of do want to get more information. Yeah, I sort of do want to get more. They legalized everything. They legalized all the drugs, as I heard. And apparently, like, it is actually the same. There isn't like not everyone's addicted to them. Like, there's no crime.
I need to go to Portugal then. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I thought you guys would have knew about it. Yeah, they've legalized all drugs, and it's just. And apparently it's worked wonders somehow. But yeah, I sort of do want more information about it. I won't just, concede to it. But I definitely think marijuana should be legal. I don't think it's. I don't know why it's not. It's silly. And people, I know so many people that always have marijuana, but it's meant to be illegal. But they'll still get hold of it. It doesn't matter. That supply and demand. You can't just cut off supply and demand by simply making a law of it. It doesn't work like that. I mean, Prohibition America in the 20s, they discovered that you can't just switch it off like that. It just doesn't work, and you're wasting time and money on what should be focused on real crimes.
Prohibition America raised what's it called? It raised the rate of alcoholism. It gave tons of money to criminals, like the war on drugs has.
Yeah,
and actually, I'd say that the greatest hurt for the black population in America is in fact the drugs being illegal, because it holds them in prison, it holds them in poverty.
Yeah, I think so. And again, they can't even keep them out of the prison. So why are we trying this impossible task of trying to?
Because they go into this banning mentality where it's, I have friends. I saw this post recently where it was like, where it was one of the straw man style posts where it was like, oh, Republicans hate children because they don't want to ban guns, because it's guns' fault for the school shootings, not wacky fuckers who want to kill people.
Hello. Sorry, I got signed out somehow. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right.
I want to turn your camera off.
Oh, yeah. Anyway, continue. Sorry.
Yeah, you saying you knew someone that had drugs or something like that?
Well, no, I do know somebody who has drugs, but I also know this person who they were strawmanning the Republican Party and saying, if you support gun rights, you hate children and want them to die.
This is the thing, yeah. It's all these good intentions sort of ideas, yeah. Like, but the path to hell is paved with good intentions. You can't like that. It sounds good on paper. Yeah, we're going to ban all drugs, but how are you going to do that? Why? Would it actually?
Well,
would it be more of a hindrance?
People have the right to make their own bad choices.
We've got like, again, just quickly go back to Lewisham East for a sec. We've got and basically most and all of England really. We've got this policy called because the housing prices have skyrocketed up, no one can really afford to buy property. At least definitely the people who went to university won't be able to afford, because they'll be in debt for pretty much the rest of their life unless they buddy up with someone to a partner to combine financial, in order to buy like a small flat, because that's all you're going to get really with housing prices. We've got a scheme called Help to Buy, and the government basically give you a 40% loan of whatever the property price is, and you think, wow, so that's a 40% equity loan, and I'm going to be able to afford to buy that nice that nice 2-bedroom flat or whatever.
So now you're in more loan. Now you're more daddy.
Well, now in 5 years' time, so you've got your mortgage now, and then in 5 years' time, you're going to have to start paying back the government. So you got two mortgages basically to pay off with one thing. It is, again, it's a good well-intentioned program or policy, but it
How
doesn't
can it's well
work.
intentioned? I don't. That doesn't sound well intentioned to me. That sounds like subprime loans. That sounds like the stuff we had in America that caused the crash.
Well, what I mean when I say good intention, it's like it sounds good to the average person. You'll go, wow, Help to Buy, or like this thing about we're going to ban all drugs. Wow, yeah, banning all drugs. It's a well-intentioned sort of thing. Obviously, I think the people who make these policies, I think they know exactly what it really is, but they just want to make this sort of
It's like
nice,
snake
friendly.
oil.
Yes, exactly. Yes, it's just a con, basically. It's just, it's just they know that, oh, people will vote for me, therefore, because I've offered them this. And again, one of my policy, or at least the Libertarian Party's policies, is because they made the 10-point plan even before I think I even was a member of it. Is that they want to get rid of that. They want to get rid of that. They want to
For
get.
me, my whole thing. The funny thing is, I was always like, what's it called? I always have said that the Libertarian. The reason that when people ask me, they're like, why are if Libertarians so good, why hasn't Libertarianism been elected? I'm like, because Libertarians don't lie to you. I'm like, It's very hard to get elected on the party basis that they don't want to give you free shit.
Yeah, and I like I said, like I think one of you said that why don't you just promise people free things, and also yeah, I know, obviously, and also be a libertarian at the same time, because I think libertarian philosophy or ideology, whatever you want to call it does want you to be an honest person. It wants you to have principles and morals and standards.
That's why it was in libertarian politics.
Yes, and obviously, yes, that probably is the reason why libertarianism isn't the. Although I do think it does exist in the Republican Party, definitely. Like you have Ron. Is it Ron Paul? I can't remember his name now. Is it?
Well, Ron Paul left the Republican Party, but his son is Rand Paul. He isn't really a libertarian, but he's the most libertarian Republican that we have.
Yes. So there are some, like we have libertarians in the Conservative Party, but Theresa May has said about a year ago that she doesn't want any libertarians in the party because she wants bigger government, and obviously libertarians believe in minarchist. Minarchism, i.e. small state and whatnot, and it's just it doesn't want that. And so there are libertarians existing in our mainstream parties, but they're a very small number, and I think they should. I could easily join the Conservative Party and join the Libertarian wing of the Conservative Party, but I'm sorry, but my principles aren't for sale. They're not for meeting halfway. They're not. You can't put a price on my morality, and I won't join that party. I will never ever vote for any of those mainstream parties again, because they're not what they claim to be. And
this is the thing. I think it's all snake oil.
Yeah, and it's just the principles of the libertarianism. Yeah, we don't lie. We won't lie to you and say that we're going to give you this, we're going to give that, it's going to be great and wonderful. No, that's not. It's just not honest. It's not doable either. Like Jeremy Corbyn at the moment in London, in England, he's promised free travel everyone up to 25. Now, who's paying for this, Jeremy? Who do you think's paying for this?
Everyone in the entire country.
Yeah, everyone did. It's just, and those same people will be paying that tax again as well. It's like this is another. It's going to be higher taxation.
The top 1%. The top 1/10 of 1%.
Those top 1%. Yeah. If Jeremy Corbyn,
you remove them, you remove all investment in the economy. You remove all. Incentive.
Just about to call it. It's called capital flight. Yeah, that's what it's known as. So basically, the capital will just simply fly away. Basically, the rich people, because they're rich and they can do that, they'll just leave. So if Jeremy Corbyn ever became in power, first thing, see you later. And you need any society needs the rich. You need the rich. You need the middle class in order to buy all these expensive products or whatever. You need them to drive it. If everyone's of the working class, then the society is going to fail because no one is buying like the things that drive our capitalist
or
free
taking
market.
The risk to invest.
Sorry?
Or taking the risk to invest in new things.
Yes, and that too. And it's just like what's another thing that Corbyn's done recently that is just And said, yeah, that was it. I was debating because they're thinking of they have just recently risen the minimum wage in England again. It's something like 15 quid an hour. Oh, I think it's
I hate
12 pounds an hour. I think something. I don't know the exact number. It's something anyway. But I was debating this Corbynista, this what we call like fans of Jeremy Corbyn.
Yeah,
basically
our equivalent of Bernie Bros.
But yeah, that's it basically. Yeah, and he was saying, I suppose you're not for the raising of the minimum wage. And I said, well, I'm not really for about it, to be honest with you. But I'll tell you this: is that if you keep raising the minimum wage, you're going to create you're going to put small business owners who may have a small team of employees. You're going to put him or her under strain because now I've got to pay them extra. Oh wait a minute, now I've got to cut loose an employee or two in order to make that extra the extra money for the minimum wage. I have to perhaps lay off a couple of people in order to pay it. And then what? So then those people now are unemployed. So if anything now, you just worse the situation. And then the guy, the Corbyn, this is the typical socialist now, typical socialist response here. Oh, well then we'll just simply subsidize the business.
Oh God!
Every business in order for them to pay that minimum wage. And I said to him, "Where's the money coming from?
That hurts.
Where is this money coming from?" And he said, well, we're coming from a taxpayer. Don't you see the error in what you're saying just now? So wait a minute. So we're going to raise the minimum wage first of all, right? And then we're going to give subsidies to these small businesses that can't make the minimum wage payment now. And then to do that, we're going to raise taxes, therefore, in order to pay for these subsidies. So wait a minute. So these people that you raise the minimum price for, they're no better off now because you've risen the tax. So they may have got a wage increase by a pound or a couple of quid or whatever, yeah. But now you've risen the taxes, so they're no better off than what they were at square one. So simply, what are you going to do then? Oh, we're going to raise the minimum wage again, right? Okay, so now it's like 15 quid an hour, let's say. Oh, now the business can't. It's going to create this domino effect again. Oh, now the small business owners can't afford it. Okay, well then we'll do another subsidy, a higher subsidy. Right, how are we going to pay for subsidy? Right, we're going to raise taxes again. It's like a snake that's eating itself. It's like they can't.
Yeah, the Ouroboros.
Yeah, it just can't understand this. It's just like why are you not seeing this? Why can't you see? This is basic economics here. I don't claim to be a Milton Friedman here, but it's just basic common sense knowledge that if you do that, that's going to cause a knock-on effect. I think, if anything, the minimum wage should be lower, in my opinion. But going into that again, it's like trying to get blood from a stone almost. Trying to have that argument with a socialist saying that because it's just always just let the rich do it. Just tax the rich. Just tax someone. Yeah, not me though. Don't tax me. Tax someone else. And then eventually, when you realise that you've been taxed now. Some of our members of the Libertarian Party used to be socialists, and they said the reason why I became a Libertarian because George Osborne, he was our former shadow chancellor of the Exchequer, in charge of the economy, charge of the money. He said, I stopped being a socialist when I saw that when George Osborne raised my taxes. Until these socialists actually experience, because a lot of them don't have jobs or anything like that, they're complaining why. The guy was debating that very argument about the subsidizing small businesses. He's a Corbynista, but doesn't vote. So it's just, how can you be a Corbynista, a pro-socialist supporting government? You don't even vote. It's just this sort of backwards thinking that just, I don't know, it's like my brain to explode. But go on, sorry, yeah.
But no, the thing is that the frustration for me is the fact that it's always somebody else. It's always, we're just going to push this on somebody else.
Yeah, it'll always be someone else's problem until it's your problem.
Yeah, shifting
it will be your problem. It will be. I remember hearing a story. I can't remember what socialist country it was. I think it was Cuba. I think it was. They there was this shop owner that was constantly going on about, well, they took that big business. It was for the people. And then eventually one day, the local government officials came in and said, yeah, we're taking this shop. It was like, well, why? And the bloke just turned around and said, it's for the people.
Everyone else is always, you're always
what I think Thatcher, one of our famous prime ministers, Margaret Thatcher, I think she once said, the problem with socialism is that
you run out of money to spend.
Yeah, it's always something until it's your money. I can't remember exactly how she phrased it.
You run out of other people's money.
Yeah, she said the problem with socialism is you run out of other people's money to spend.
Yeah, you do. It's all great at first, and then eventually that gravy train stops, and it's going to be you paying for that.
That's what communism failed. It was such an anticlimactic end to communism, where this massive economic power, this massive, the Soviet Union just completely implodes because guess what? There's no money left.
Yeah.
And China, one of the few communist countries that manages to survive for an extended period of time, guess what? They aren't communist. They're ridiculously happy. They're the most capitalist country on earth.
No, and in Venezuela at the moment, isn't there money like worthless? Isn't it like
completely worthless.
Yeah,
I've heard stories that they've turned factories into Bitcoin mining facilities. So basically, they go on and they just mine for, like, I don't know if you know how Bitcoin works, but like you can. It's basically based on a meritocracy kind of system where if you help build the network of cryptocurrency Bitcoin, they'll reward you by giving you a Bitcoin. And obviously a Bitcoin, or some of a Bitcoin anyway, because I can't remember the last time I checked what a Bitcoin is worth. It was worth 2,000 quid.
It's like $20,000 now.
Is it that? Yeah. So imagine that, if you're getting a bit of Bitcoin. And I heard like World of Warcraft money is actually worth more than the currency.
Yeah. Then bullets.
Well, Venezuelan currency currently is going through the same thing that Zimbabwe went through a few years ago, and the same thing that Germany went through in the 1920s, which is the fact that it just because the government had decided the best way of dealing with the issue by printing more money, and then people realize, hey, we're printing more money, therefore the money's worthless, so the money becomes less valuable. And
now, say what you just said now, but replace the money part with minimum wage. We'll just raise the minimum wage. Well, hang a minute.
Now the minimum wage is worthless, so we'll just raise the minimum wage.
Now the minimum wage is worthless, so we'll just rise the minimum wage again. That's it.
Well, the issue with the minimum wage also is the fact that you're fundamentally taking somebody's right away, because you're taking people's rights to work at the wage they want to. If somebody wants to work for £7 an hour or $7 an hour, why is it your choice if they did not let them?
And that also encourages, when back in the day you would ask for a raise. In a way, it was like a sort of, again, a meritocracy system where if
they're like, well, we're paying you minimum wage, so fuck off, we don't need to pay you.
Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah, you could negotiate with your employer and say, well, look here, I'm the best worker in this. Let's just say fast food restaurant. Also,
in America, at least, and I'm sure they do in England too. They have tip pools for like waiters and waitresses, where it's like, and I'm like, why? If I was ever running a restaurant, I would never do a tip pool, because the thing is that you completely ruin the point of tips.
And it's like, it's the greatest irony for the trade unions, because the trade unions say, oh, we're collectively bargaining, so we're bargaining on behalf of every single worker. But then by doing that, they actually take away the agency of the individual workers to bargain for their own raises.
But the tips, the whole tip thing is that so in America, I know you don't have tips, but in America, the thing is that tips are very important to waitresses and waiters having enough money, which is fine.
It goes back to that whole Reservoir Dogs opening scene about Mr. Pink not tipping.
No. But the thing is that the thing with the tips now is the fact that if you have a really shitty waiter and you're a really, really, really good one, all their money, all their tip money is pooled together and then split out.
Yes. It should be based on meritocracy. It should be based on if you have two waiters.
Fundamentally against the values of socialism and communism.
Yes, of course it is.
Meritocracy is sexist and racist.
It rewards hard work. It rewards, like, if you have two waitresses and one of them was fantastic, you'd obviously
Well,
tip that one, and one that would be terrible.
I'm gonna be
You've got to
honest.
tip it. It's a form. That's like I mean, Milton. This is going back to the NHS thing now. Is that, you know, I do really care about the NHS a lot, but it does need to be reformed, and I think privatisation is a way. Now, I would say, I would maybe concede that all the A&E departments, you know, the emergency departments of hospitals, I would concede in saying, okay, fine, keep them funded by the taxpayer, but everything else be privatized, because like Milton Friedman said, is that like the problem with the private sector versus the government is that the government will always, no matter how bad that government run organization is, it will always get it will always get a budget, the same budget next year, regardless of whether it performed well or whether it performed better. And the NHS is a horror story at the moment, yeah. And that's not a slate on all the doctors and the nurses and the orderlies and not all the paramedics. That's nothing to do with them. That's just, it's simply the infrastructure of the NHS. It's a nightmare at the moment. And if that was a private organisation, that would have went out of business long ago, because it just you need to be able to create a system which has that threat of possibly going out of business, because it's like art over diversity. You know, like you have to improve. Like I want a future for hospital, for the NHS, where Croydon Hospital is competing with Lewisham Hospital, and they're saying, and it'd be like supermarkets, like, oh, come to our hospital, we've got half price on this kind of operation on this week or whatever, this month or whatever, where, you know, and then maybe the other hospital, like, oh, they've got this going on. Well, how about we put a price on? We'll say, you know, obviously everyone will have to have their own personal insurance, therefore. But again, that's choice. I mean, like, I never go to hospital. I never go to. Very rarely do I go to my doctors. You know, but yeah, I'm constantly paying for something I never use via taxpayer, via tax money. And like, people can use that as choice and go, okay, I need to go. I'm going to use health insurance to use it. And you know, they should be going, oh, I won't go to Croydon Hospital because Lewisham has got a better deal. It should be treated like that. I want it to be like supermarkets where they're constantly trying to outdo each other, constantly trying, and it will drive not only prices to be slashed, but it will also drive quality as well in the service that they produce.
Oh, totally. That makes perfect sense. But see, the thing is that in a fundamental tenet of socialism and fundamental tenet of communism, it's always, you know, from their ability to each according to their needs, which is, you know, of course, it's like, you know, we're gonna take from those who have the ability and have the smarts and have competed and succeeded to those who haven't, to those who have failed because.
Yeah, I see it. I even see it happening now. I mean, like I said, I work for Royal Mail, my full-time job, and I see it with even postmen, where if you do a certain amount of hours overtime, if you surpass a certain threshold, you get not heavily taxed, but you get a significant sort of tax cut. Money gets taken out of your wage a lot more. And there's a certain point.
You do more work.
Yes, at a certain point, there's like a band of tax that you'll fall into if you do a certain amount of hours, whatever. So I know postmen that literally don't work anymore, so they'll just do their minimal standard shift, and then to a certain point they won't do it anymore. And that's just being a postman. So imagine if this sort of idea was put in society where everyone is heavily taxed. It will just destroy incentive. It will destroy the ability for one individual
not compete with American economies. Economy and why American economy is having trouble competing with the Chinese economy.
Yes, and it kills incentive. I mean, why would I want to go do a job that I'll fall into that tax band, that tax bracket where I'm going to be heavily taxed? Why go for that promotion? Why go for that stressful job if I can simply just stay as I am, earn what I can, not be taxed as much, and then simply just be
why not be a doorman? Like, if you're in a communist society and everyone gets paid the same, why not be a doorman? It takes a lot more work to be a doctor than a doorman. Just open the door over and over again.
Yeah, well, that's exactly what's going on. What happened in Cuba when I recently went? Yeah, like I say, you had these guys with master degrees, and they're a bargain because they're getting tips, because the tips were better than the wages that they were getting, and obviously it's tax free because it's that sort of I think the government obviously know that it's going on, but they say, you can keep the money, you can keep without it being taxed with a tip. We won't say anything. Just make sure that the guests don't talk about Cuba, don't find out what Cuba's really like. Keep them in this fake resort Cuba where everything's nice.
And same thing with like North Korea. And they make fun of it in The Producers, where it's like not The Producers, which is a great show, but in the interview.
I haven't seen that film. I haven't actually seen that film yet, but yeah, I know it's the set.
They make a lot of fun where it's like all the fruits, they show all these crazy full supermarkets, and all the fruits made of wax.
I can totally believe it. Do you know what? Honestly, yeah, I think the thing going on currently with Donald Trump and the North Korean, and they pulled out, haven't they, of the summit, of the peace summit. I honestly think that the reason why Kim Jong Il is Kim Jong Il or Kim Jong Un?
Kim Jong Un.
Kim Jong Il was the last one. It's Kim Jong Un.
The son, I honestly think the reason why he actually even began these talks originally, because I think it's a lot worse what's going on in North Korea. I think that the people are pretty much eating pigeons off the street at the moment. I think it's gotten really bad. But North Korea keeping up these appearances, and I mean, I heard a few. Was it a year ago or something, or a few months ago, where a North Korean citizen defected and he ran across the border and managed to get into the South Korea, and he applied for asylum. And he was shot a couple of times, obviously trying to escape North Korea. And when they he didn't die though, but they managed to patch him back up together again. But when they were doing him through surgery, he had all these worms inside of him, these sort of these pesticides inside him, because the food, he was so malnutritioned that all of these sort of things were growing on inside of him. It's just showing that just how bad that the country really got. I honestly think that there are people dying of starvation in North Korea right now, and I think Trump knows it, and I think the South Korean leader knows it as well. But they're just being they don't want to say it because obviously it would ruin the peace talks. They don't want to say that, there's people dying on the street. But I honestly think it is very, very, very bad in the worst in Venezuela at the moment. I don't have any facts for that to back that up, obviously, but I just have this strong feeling that is going on in North Korea right now, and that's the whole reason.
Socialist for 100 years. North Korea's been full communist for 100 years.
Was it 100 years?
It's been 100 years ish.
Has it been 100 years?
I don't think so.
I don't think it was.
It's been like 80 years. It's been like 80 years. It's been almost like 100 years.
No. It's only been like 70. It's only been 70 since the 40s.
Yeah, it's definitely not triple. I don't think it's triple figures anyway. I think it's just under that.
It's been one of the longest running fully communist. I think it must be the longest running communist country at this point. Because
and again, they're not. I mean, look at compare South Korea with North Korea. I mean, North Korea is clearly the superior in technology, in quality of life, in everything. It's past them, I think, in everything. Probably, maybe not military might in the sense of troops on the ground, because I think they have a million. North Korea have like a million members of their army.
They have 1.25 million men.
Oh man, but what have they got to show for it, really? Nothing. I think citizens are in a really bad.
I mean,
way.
Kim Jong Un and the Kim dynasty is they're just kings without a crown. I mean, at this point, they really are.
Yeah.
They're really the old style absolute monarch. But instead of ruling with well, actually, technically, North Korea is one of the few necrocracies in existence. Technically, Kim Il Sung is technically still the ruler, the original leader of North Korea. They never stopped being ruler. It's just that his children are ruling in his stead, but he is still the ruler.
Yes, that's it. That he's like he's basically their de facto god, isn't he?
Apparently he doesn't shit, and he was born on top of a mountain when lightning struck it.
Yes, and doesn't he control the weather? And
he got 18 holes in one in his first golf game.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say that.
And he also could drive a car with
I heard this. You know what? I do believe it. I heard this story that North Korea competed in the World Cup. You know what you guys call soccer. They competed in a World Cup a few years ago, and they obviously lost because they weren't as good as the other football competing countries, and they got knocked out fairly early in the World Cup. And but I heard
They won.
that they edited all the footage to make it look like that they won.
Oh yeah, I remember that they actually like redid the game, but in a different stadium with a bunch of actors as the the viewers. It was so funny.
I mean, come on, man! If your socialist society is that great, you wouldn't need to do dumb stuff like that, would you?
Yeah. Anyway, that should wrap us up for this evening. It's been great talking with you. Thank you for being on so much.
Thank you,
I'm
mate.
sorry,
Yeah,
I'd love to have you on the what's it called? On the show again at some point.
Yeah, it would be great to have you on again.
Yeah, well, yeah, I would love to, mate. You should try and contact one of the other libertarian guys. They're far more intelligent, far more with it than I am. Really, I mean, I'm still fairly like a newbie, really, in the sense of libertarian.
Actually, the issue is getting the attention of anyone who's let's say who's more what's it called famous is very difficult. So if your help would actually be very welcome in doing that.
Oh, great! Yeah. But none of our members are famous, but just like some of them are just really, really great guys. They definitely inspired me to do what I'm doing now at the moment. A colleague of mine is called Dan Lidicott. He's fantastic on like the whole identity politics and political correctness, and things like that.
Who's your leader? The party leader's name again? I saw him on the Daily Politics like last year.
Yeah. His name is Adam Brown. He was, like I say, a lot of our members are ex-members of other parties. Because like me, just sick of it, had enough of it. That we've got a lot of UKIP people. We've got Adam Brown is a former Conservative member of, he's now obviously our leader. We've even got ex-socialists, believe it or not, because again they realise that it's just this isn't a workable system. The system that they believe in, it's just not doable. And obviously, like I said, they found out that the day they stopped being a socialist, the day they got heavily taxed by the government, which is just great. It's just what a way to wake up a socialist, by them getting a heavily taxed council tax bill, whatever it is, whatever it was.
Yeah, and one other quick thing, just before we leave, it's about sort of like minor parties in the UK. So, are you aware of like the sort of rebooted version of the Liberal Party, like the rebooted version of the old Liberal Party?
Yes,
they have councillors like Steve Radford.
Yes, that he's probably. I think isn't he the leader? I think he's fairly popular. Again, I was looking at small parties to see if there was a party out there that did fit me, and obviously I found the Libertarian Party. Looking at the policies of the Liberal Party, I think unfortunately they do fall into that same regressive liberal standard as the Liberal Democrats in a way. I think they're aggressive. I don't think they're real liberals personally.
That's unfortunate.
Maybe they've changed since I last looked into them about a year or two ago. Maybe they've changed some policies. I don't know. But one thing especially I didn't like about them was definitely a deal breaker for me, was that they want to get rid of Trident. That's our defense program. That's they want to get rid of. They want to denuke us basically. They want to get rid of our nuclear weapons. And to me, that just tells me that they don't understand the nuclear deterrent. The point of it. The point of it, like.
Yeah, like I'm the most like non-interventionist person, but even I support holding nuclear weapons as a deterrent.
Yes, it's quite ironic really, because
it's very hard to attack people if they have a nuke.
Yes, and it's that thing. It's quite ironic really, because like we've got this super powerful weapon, but the whole point of it is to never actually use it. The nuclear weapons are the greatest deterrent for war. It is quite amazing that the most destructive thing we created is actually the greatest peacekeeper in our planet. and to simply just get rid of it, so let's just say tomorrow we got rid of all of the nuclear weapons in every country, well then that just brings us back to conventional war, doesn't it? It just brings us back to World War II levels of casualties, World War One's level of casualties.
To be fair, I will say for them that is substantially better than total nuclear annihilation.
Yes, I mean, yes, of course. There is a chance that might happen. It's very unlikely, I think. But yes, and it's also the whole nuclear deterrent thing is obviously about, even if, let's just say Iran, somehow managed to get their nukes to hit us, even though we're definitely going to be wiped out, we still have an ethical responsibility to return fire our nuclear weapons to wipe each other out, because that does two things. It stops Iran from being a tyrannical sort of leader, because they say, oh look, we just nuked Britain and nothing happens. But also by getting rid of Iran, for example, it shows the rest of the world that, wow, they just wiped each other out. Man, let's never ever launch another nuke again or start some kind of war. You know, it like the whole Second Amendment issue in the US. There's more to it than meets the eye. It isn't simply that let's just get rid of our guns, let's just get rid of our nukes. It's not. It's more to it than that. That will lower crime, or that will lower tension in the world. No, if I think it would do quite the opposite, in my opinion.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah. So that is the end of today's episode. Thank you so much again, Sean, for being on. And you can donate to him, to his campaign at here's the link, libertarianparty.co.uk/Sean Finch. So that is SEANFINCH. That is, again, libertarianparty.co.uk/Sean Finch. And
you can follow me on Facebook, Sean Finch, Libertarian Party. I'm on Minds, I'm on Gab, I'm on Twitter. I mean, you'll find me on any of those.
Yeah. And you can also donate to our Patreon, which is linked on our SoundCloud page, which is soundcloud.com/goawaypodcast. So thank you again very much, Sean, for being on. And that will conclude us for this episode. I have been Locke.
And I have been Smith.